Hey there. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you guys some tips that my PT gave me to try to just generally, while in the meantime that you're glute strengthening, to take the pressure off the labral tear, because like I said in the previous video, my PT likens it to like a labral tear being like a bruise that you continue to push, and it never gets a chance to settle down, you know, in terms of its pain receptors, its inflammation. Like, I don't understand that bit, but he said basically you just need to take the pressure off the tear. And he said, so in the meantime that you're glute strengthening, there are a few tips that he recommended which were actually helpful for me in the early days to reduce the pressure. So I want to share those with you. So the first thing he said was, like, when you sit, if you're sitting like on a chair, he said, like, don't just sit up like this, because that's impinging on the tear and it hurts the hip. He said to like have like bad posture and sit like back like that, so you're not putting the pressure on the tear. Okay, so that's the first one. And another one was that, like, when you're in bed at night, okay, there's two tips. I just want to change this. The first one is, like, when you're laying on your back. Oh, I have to kick her off again. Sorry, my darling. When you're laying on your back, he says get a thick pillow and put it under your knees, okay, like this. And he said that will, you're laying down, that will take the pressure off your labral tear, because if you're like lying down flat, the femur is pushing more on the front of the socket and the tear, and that will aggravate it. Where if you've got these under your knees, it just takes the pressure off the labral tear a bit. And he also said, like, if you're lying on your side in bed, to have pillows between your knees like this, and that will take the pressure off the painful bit as well, okay? Or you won't be like impinging your hip, like, as much when you're sleeping on your side. And he also said, like, when you're sitting, don't cross your legs. He said you can cross your ankles, but don't cross your knees, okay? And he also said that apart from the glute strengthening exercises, that just keeping the joint moving without weight is very, very helpful for reducing inflammation and therefore pain in the hip itself. And he gave me one exercise to do. I have to say it did aggravate the hip a bit. But he said when you use a stationary bike, it activates the hip flexors quite a bit. But I've got a previous video which is on this channel, where I've modified the stationary bike, cut the crank arms shorter so that the turning circle is less, and because that my stationary bike was impinging on my tear, like my leg was going up too high. So now with the modified turning circle, my leg moves less and it doesn't impinge on the tear that much. So I get a lot of relief from using that while I'm working on my computer. You can see that in a previous video. So and he also said, like walking in a pool, he said, is hugely beneficial, because you haven't got the weight bearing, but you can get the joint moving. So and I mean, I know this myself, like I've got a journal article that shows how continuous passive motion reduces inflammation in the joint. And if you think about it, like, it's like a pump, you know, you're turning the joint constantly with the movement and non-weight bearing, and it increases the interaction that the synovial fluid has with the synovium and therefore the bloodstream. And inflammatory, it just somehow it reduces inflammation, and it reduces pro-inflammatory markers and increases anti-inflammatory markers, okay? Like that. That's what the journal article shows. But anyway, yeah, so he said it's very important to have that joint moving, you know, as well, like without weight bearing, and that can help reduce the pain as well. And the other thing he said for me, which, you know, was hugely beneficial for me, and to just take that pressure off that tear and just help things to settle down, help that pain settle down, was actually using crutches. Like, he said, use one crutch around the house, and if your sore hip is on the left, then have the crutch in your right arm, and like when you're out and about, use 2 crutches. And I did that, and I did that for 2 months. Initially I was like, oh yeah, like I'll just won't use crutches around the house, and you know, I'll just use crutches when I'm out. But it wasn't enough. I was in so much pain even walking around the house that I really relied on that one crutch around the house, and it just, like, mentally I was not coping at all with the pain. Like, it was just like I was ready to die. I was so ready to die, and just the pain was just had been so bad for so long. It was getting worse, and so, but being on the crutches just took those thoughts away, because being on the crutches took the pain, took the pressure off the tear, and it took the pain away to a certain extent. Like, it just made the pain more manageable, less painful, right? And so, you know, I then in my mind I could do other things because I wasn't so consumed by the pain. So, and he said that, like, he thinks that, you know, you should be on crutches for about 6 weeks if the labral tear pain is so bad, and he said that by that time it should do what he wants it to do, which is basically reduce the inflammation and the aggravation on that labral tear tissue, that area of the joint that's just so inflamed. Yeah, so, but like I said, I found that I was on them for more like 2 months. But I haven't been on them for a month now. So yeah, so that's great. And I've been doing the glute strengthening for about a month, like full on. Okay, so I think that's all the tips. But like I said, I mean, there are other ways that I've found that I can reduce my pain levels. That's like working on my pelvic alignment, you know, working on my spine to increase the flexibility, improve the lordosis of the spine, like, yeah, massaging the adductors, and just doing the glute strengthening, which I find is a pain reliever, okay, if done not to aggravate the labral tear pain, okay, which I've figured, like I said, I've kind of nutted out some ways to do that, which I've shared in other videos. Alright, well, thanks very much for watching. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you later.